Hello everyone, welcome to the second session of the course Data Analytics. This is Ranjit Gawande. We will take a quick review of what we have learned in the previous session. So just try to recall from the first session that according to the IBM and the Gartner, how they define the big data. So let's start from the definition of the big data. So big data is nothing but a collection of data sets so large and complex that it often becomes difficult to process using traditional data processing application. We also discuss what are the challenges in big data. So just see this slide. Here you will find out the summary of the previous session. Here we had discussing the challenges in the sense to understand the big data. We are comparing this big data with the RDBMS, and the RDBMS queries are insufficient to handle this kind of big data, and it is insufficient to gain insight on such big data. So let's start with what are the drawbacks of the RDBMS. RDBMS, it is a traditional tool, and it is very difficult to find out the particular topic was trading from the data. So that is the one disadvantage. Another disadvantage is that the traditional RDBMS operations are retrieval are slow, and it is not useful for many of the application. So these are the certain disadvantages of the RDBMS, and these are actually the challenges for the big data. What are the applications of the big data? We know that big data can be applicable for the finance, healthcare, real-time traffic analysis, as well as useful in sentiment analysis. So we also discuss the characteristics of the big data. What are the characteristics of the big data? Have you remember? That is the volume, velocity, and variety. One by one, we will take a quick review about these characteristics. What exactly the volume? Volume is nothing but the scale. For example, if there are 12 terabytes of tweets which are created every day and which need to be analyzed for sentiment analysis, then this is called volume of data. Then the next characteristic is the velocity, that is the speed. Velocity we will also call as a speed. So basically that reflects here the time factor. Everything has to be done within a particular time bound, and this particular aspect of the computation is called velocity. That means the data which is generated in a real time, it has to be analyzed and understood about various purposes. So big data must be using the stream data in this particular scenario. So obviously these aspects of big data is very much needed, and volume and velocity together is creating the challenge in big data computation. The next dimension is the variety. Have you remember what exactly the variety? Variety is nothing but the complexity. So variety means the big data is not in one form, but it appear in a several type. So big data can be appear in which kind of several type? Suppose there will be a structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data. So that will be create certain complexity. So this was the quick review of session 1. I congratulate the student who have solved the assignment and focus question before the deadline and submitted to our Google Classroom. Note that the submission of the assignment is very carefully observed by us, and it will be noted for the final evaluation of the student. So try your best to submit the assignment within a deadline. If you have any query or difficulty in solving the assignment, then feel free to write on the forum of our Google Classroom. I will be very happy to solve your difficulties. So these are the certain quick review of my first session. I also hope that you have downloaded the study material available at my blog and take taken the review of the contents present on the blog. As I already told you that to cover unit 1 we required 3 sessions. So as per schedule, today we will discuss the second part of unit 1, that is life cycle of data analytics. In the next session and the last session we will discuss the GINA. That what have you remember what is GINA? GINA is nothing but Global Innovation Network Analytics. This case study is readily available to us, and we are trying how the life cycle phases will be applicable for this GINA case study. The purpose or the goal of studying this subject is further classified into 3 sections. Number 1 is to get in-depth knowledge of the subject. Number 2, to solve the social problem using knowledge gain about this subject. And number 3, that is the most important thing right now, is to get good marks in upcoming university exam. On the very next slide we will see what are the questions that were asked in previous year university exam. Take it as an assignment and submit it. Before while you are submitting, you should follow the deadline of the submission and submit it to our Google Classroom. Here you will have to solve the question that I underlined. So first question that was asked in November-December 2018 end semester examination is explain data analytic life cycle. This question was asked for 8 marks. You have to carefully watch today's session on data analytics as we are addressing this issue in today's session. The second question that was asked as to compare business intelligence with data science. Similarly, on the next year paper, the questions that were asked like draw and explain current analytical architecture, enlist and explain various user involved to make successful analytical project. All these issues we will be covered in today's session. So watch the session, listen carefully and note down in your notebook while we are discussing the things. Question number 2b, here you will be find out demonstrate the overview of data analytic life cycle. This question is clearly mentioned demonstrate. Demonstrate means the question will be covered in the next session. Demonstrate means we are applying the concept of the life cycle on the GINA case study. So that this question we will be discussing in the next session. The expected answer to this question, we need to apply data analytic life cycle to the case study suggested by the SPPU, that is nothing but the GINA case study. So the next is the contents of the today's session. We just saw the previous year question paper which you need to be solved as an assignment, as well as today we will address the issue related to the big data ecosystem. Then we will discuss big data analytical architecture, and in the end we will learn about the life cycle of the data analytics. So let's begin with the first topic, that is what is the big data ecosystem. This video lecture contains some focus question that you have to solve and submit to the Google Classroom. So big data ecosystem, the dictionary meaning of the generalized ecosystem is a system involving the interaction between the community of the living organism in a particular area and its non-living environment. While from a big data perspective, the meaning of the ecosystem is the communication between vendors and the framework they use for analytical purposes. Thus, the big data ecosystem takes shape from four major groups which are interconnected through the World Wide Web. Here, vendor means, for example, Cloudera, Hortonworks, or Pivotal, who have provided value added for the open source framework like Hadoop. These are the basically data cleaners and use crowdsourcing to test the outcome of the machine learning technique. Now, what are these four major players of the ecosystem? These are data devices, data collector, data aggregators, data users, and buyers. Next, we will see in detail about it. So here you will be find out one diagram which clear that how these four players are interconnected with each other. Now we will see the individual one in detail. The data devices mentioned over here as a number one, and they are showing you various sensor devices. For example, the mobile phone, online gaming, set-top box, video surveillance camera. They broadly they are popularly known as the sensor net. These sensor net gather the data from multiple locations and continuously generate some gigabyte of data. Although the new petabyte of data that is generated from the captured data. Then the question arises in our mind, how originally gigabyte of data is responsible for generating a new petabytes of data. To understand this concept, let us consider one example. For you have a smartphone which provided rich sources of data. In addition to messaging and basic phone usage, they store and transmit the data about what internet usage they had done. They also use the SMS usage, then real-time location. All that factors are associated with one smartphone. This metadata can be used for analyzing traffic pattern by scanning the density of the smartphone in a location. So that will be useful to track the speed of the cars or you can say the relative traffic congestion on a busy road. In this way, the GPS devices in car can give driver real-time update and offer alternative route to avoid traffic delays. I hope that you understand how the original few bytes of data creates a new large data. Second is data collector. Second is the data collector, which is include sample entities that collect the data from the devices and the users. For example, let's say medical is connected with your medical imaging. Your real-time, your retailers are connected with the credit card. Then you will be find out there will be a phone as well as the TV that are connected with the set-top box. To understand the role of the data collector in the ecosystem, consider one example such as data obtained from the cable TV provider will be useful for tracking the shows a person watches, which TV channel the person has watched, which will be further used to calculate the TRP. You know the TRP? TRP is nothing but television rating point. So these are the certain usage that data collectors collect the data from the data devices. Then the third is the data aggregators. The data aggregators, here it is mentioned the data aggregator. The data aggregator makes sense of the data collected from the various entities, from the sensor net or the Internet of Things. These organizations compile data from these devices and create a usage pattern. The data collected by government agencies, retail store and the website, they analyze, they transform the data in a form of the package, or you can say the data product. After that, they sell it to the list broker, who may want to generate marketing list of people which are with the, or you can say with the intention of whom may be good target for specific ad campaign. So that is the background, how it is important. The fourth and the last player of the ecosystem is the data user or buyer. So here that will be a popularly known as the media, where we can buy the data. So this group understand how to get benefit from the data collectors and the aggregator, considering by the data which is obtained from this data collector and the aggregator. To understand the role of the data users and the buyer, consider one example. Suppose there will be a retail bank which is acting as a data buyer, may want to know which customer have the highest possibility to apply for a home loan. To provide input for this, the retail bank may purchase the data from the data aggregator. This kind of data may include demographic information about the people living in the specific location, people who are appear to have a specific level of the debt and yet still have a solid credit score, and you can consider some other characteristics also. So that is the data user or data buyer. Hope you understand how data buyers obtaining the data from these various sources, and aggregator which will enable more targeted marketing campaign. Before big data came into the picture, it was very much challenging, as there was a lack of information on, or you can say high performing technologies was less. So this is the big data ecosystem. Hope you understand clearly. This is the emerging big data ecosystem. The data set can be of many types, such as it can include sensor data, text data, structured data, or you can say the social media. But this data set will not work well within a traditional enterprise data warehousing system. We will popularly call this enterprise data warehousing as a EDWS. The EDWS, which streamline the reporting and dashboard, are carefully managed. Instead, in a big data project required different approaches. One important concept which we will be using regularly throughout this lecture series is a sandbox. You must know what exactly the sandbox. A sandbox contains raw data, or you can call it is aggregated data, and data with multiple kind of structure. The analysis with the help of IT and the DBA get data they needed from these analytic sandboxes. The typical analytic sandbox enable robust exploration of data and require an expert user to hold and take advantage of data in a sandbox environment. That's all about the sandbox. Now we will address one important concept from the data analytics, and that is, what are the major components of typical analytical architecture. The clear understanding of the ecosystem is helpful to learn big data architecture more easily. So let's start with the architecture. So the big data analytical architecture is a component. What are the components in big data analytical architecture are mentioned here: the data sources, data collectors, data aggregators, and data users and the buyers. Hope you find certain similarity between the ecosystem and the analytical architecture. To understand the architecture of data analytics, one should know why data analytics project required architecture. That is the fundamental question. Why we required the architecture? So DA project requires some workspace that are built for the experimenting with the data, as well as you are saying that you required some flexibility and agile data structure. So hope you understand why data project required architecture. The aim to examine the data flow to the data scientist and how this individual fits into the process of getting data to analyze project. There are certain challenges. The challenges are faced by data scientists and others while they are trying to do advanced analytics. Here are some of the major components of a typical architecture. The first one is data sources, which include some online games, smartphone, computer which are connected with the internet, as well as second is the data collectors. You can say the phone and TV company, then internet, then government organization. These are certain data collector. Third one is the data aggregators that makes sense of data from the data collected from website, credit bureaus, and the media like Twitter or Facebook. Then the last one is data users and the buyer. Who will buy that data? Obviously the banks, law enforcement, marketers, and employers. The next we will see how these four components work together and generate one insight on the data. That is the architecture. Here the diagram clearly indicate the first one is the data source. This data source to be loaded into the warehouses. At warehouses, data need to be converted into well structured, and here data will be understood, and then data normalization process carried out with appropriate data definitions. At this stage is provide data security, as well as they provide the backup and failover of the highly critical data. Here the data type typically goes through significant pre-processing, and checkpoints are created before it can enter into the controlled environment. The second one is a warehouse. Here you will find out the warehouses and as well as the EDW. So these warehouses, as a result, control on the EDW. Additional local system may emerge in the form of the departmental warehouses and local data marts that businesses users create to accommodate their need for flexible analysis. These local data marts may not have the same constraint for security and structure as the main EDW, and here there is a provision to allow user to do some level of more in-depth analysis. So these enterprise data warehouses, they are responsible for generating the reports, However, out of these two, the EDWS, one of the system that reside in isolation, often are not synchronized or integrated with other data sources. They may not be backed up. You can observe here that data source as well as the warehouses can be used by the data scientist. This warehouse as well as the data source, both of them are used by the data scientist. The third is the report. These reports or and the dashboard as well as the alerts where data is read by additional application for business intelligence and report for reporting purposes from the enterprise data warehouses. These are high priority operational process. The data warehouses and the repository were provided critical data feeds. Now the last one, that will be the fourth one, that will be the data scientist and the user. Now analyst gets data provision for their downstream analysis. The reason behind it is that data analysis generally are not allowed to run custom or intensive analytics on production database. So the analyst creates data extract from the EDW to analyze the data offline. They use the statistical tool like R language or other local analytical tool. By using the R script, they analyze samples of data rather than the entire population of the data set. As these analysis based on only the data extract, so they kept it in a separate location, and the result of the analysis and the insight on the quality of the data that may contain certain data anomalies are fed back to the main data repository. I hope you well and understood the architecture of the analytics. Next, we will see the what is difference between business intelligence and data science. So to understand the difference between the business intelligence and the data science, we will consider some parameter. Based on these 9 parameter, it will be easier to distinguish BI from the data science. So the first parameter is perspective. Perspective means particular way of thinking. So here BI systems are designed to look backward based on real data from a real event, while data science is designed to look forward, interpreting the information to predict what might happen in future. So it is clear BI deals with historical data, while data science deals with prediction. Now the next parameter is focus, in which BI delivers detailed reports to whom? To the vendor or the data user. So that are containing certain key performance indicators like KPIs and trends, but doesn't tell you what this data may look like in future in a form of the pattern or in a form of certain trend. So next is the process. So from process point of view, the traditional BI system tend to be static and comparative. They do not offer room for exploration and experimentation in terms of how the data is collected and managed. So next is the data sources. Because of its static nature, business intelligence data sources tend to be pre-planned and added very slowly. While in data science, They offer much more flexible approach, as it means various data sources can be added on go. And the next one is the transform. What exactly is transform? Here you can say how the data deliver difference to the business. BI help you answer the question, where the data science help you to discover new question, because it encourages companies to apply insight to a new data. Then next is the storage. The any business asset or data need to be a flexible one. BI need to be a warehouse and soiled, which means it difficult to deploy across the businesses. Well, data science can be distributed in real time. Then what about the data quality? On this on that parameter, how we can differentiate the BI from the data science? In any data analysis is only as good as quality of data captured. Well, BI provides a single version of truth, while data science offer precision as well as confidence level and much wider probabilities with its finding. Then the next one is the IT owned versus business owned. So here we operated IT department, sending along intelligence to analyze who interpreted it from the business intelligence point of view. Well, from data science point of view, the analysts are in charge. They have the complete charge of this process. The last one is the analysis. So under the analysis, a backward and the descriptive BI system is much less like to be placed to do this than the predictive data. So this is the differences between the business intelligence and the data science. Next, we will see some graphical representation that showing more differences between the business intelligence and data science. So this is the clear representation how BI is differ from the DS. Here we will considering various analytical approaches on one axis, and on the another axis we will see the time horizon, which is initially considered as a previous or historical data. Then on the extension it can consider as a future data or the prediction. Here you can observe that BI provides reports, dashboards and queries on business question for the past data. BI system make it easier to answer the question related to the quarter to the date revenue, progress towards quarterly targets, and understand how much of a given product was sold in a prior quarter of a year. Thus, the analytical approach is somewhat explanatory. That is the explanatory approach. These questions tend to close-ended and explain current or past behavior, typically by aggregating the historical data and grouping it in some way. While BI provides some insight and generally answer the question related to when, why, where are carried out. On the other hand, data science use the disaggregated data. In a more forward-looking, we will call it is the explanatory data. So, focusing and analyzing the present and enabling decision making about the future. Rather than aggregating the historical data, it forecasts future product sale and revenue for more accurately extending the simple trend in the data. So, in addition, data science tend to be more exploratory in nature, may use scenario optimization to deal with some more open-ended question. This approach provides insight into the current activity and foresight into a future event. It focuses on a question related to how, why, and what, so that event will be occur. I hope you will easily solve this question, which is asked in the university examination many times. Next, we you have to appear for a focus question, and you have to upload your answer on our Google Classroom. So the focus question is, in big data, how many groups of players interconnected through the World Wide Web? Your time start now. I hope you will select correct option. Now, before proceeding to conclusion of today's session, we will discuss about most important topic of Unit 1, that is life cycle of DA. So, life cycle, to understand clearly the phases involved in the life cycle of data analytics, we must know the background of data analytic life cycle and its overview and key role of successful analytic project. So let's start from the overview. The data analytic life cycle is designed specifically for big data problem and data science project. The life cycle has 6 phases. For most of the phases in life cycle, the movement can be either forward or backward. This iterative approach of life cycle is intended to move closely to real project, in which the aspect of the project move forward and may return to earlier stage with the new information uncovered. And team members learn more about various stages of the project. The second important aspect is the key role for the successful analytic project. Let me clear one important point here is that in a recent year, the role of data scientist gets substantial attention, but actually there are other 7 team members who were involved in execution of a successful data analytics project. I just enlist the team members who were involved in such such project. The first one is the business user. Second one is the project sponsorer, project manager, business intelligence, then data analytics, database administrator, then data engineers, and finally the most popular one is the data scientist. They all together they played their important key role for the successful analytic project. So this is the key role of for a successful analytic project. Now the third dimension is the background. The data analyst life cycle define analysis process as a best practices, which span from the discovery of project to the project completion. The life cycle developed from some established method which were collected from the domain of data analytics and decision science. We already know that DA life cycle is involved with backward and forward and sometimes overlapping movement. Here you will see the certain DA life cycle is involving with backward and forward and sometimes overlapping movement. So now we will see what exactly these overlapping indicate and what are the 6 phases of a life cycle. Let's start with the first phase, that will be the data analytics, uh, data discovery, data preparation, then planning of data model, then data model execution, then communication of the result, and the last phase is operationalization. So the data analytics life cycle is designed specifically for the big data problems and data science project. The life cycle contains these six phases. Now we will discuss these phases in detail. The diagram shows this diagram shows the overview of a data analytic life cycle. The team members learn new things in each phase. Sometimes the team members need to go back and refine the work done in the prior phase based on the new insight, or you can say the new sense about the data that have been uncovered. Then for this reason it indicate in a form of one cycle. This is one cycle, you can say. The circular arrow conveys it is the iterative movement. These circular arrows will indicate the circular movement between the two phases. Until the team members have sufficient information to move the next phase, they indicated by some callouts include some sample question. These are the callouts and containing some sample question that ask or you can say help to guide whether each of the team member has enough information and has made enough progress to move to the next phase of the process. Let's discuss the first phase of the life cycle in brief, that is the discovery. The discovery phase, the team learn business domain first. They also learn about the history of data, particularly the businesses such as whether the organization or the business unit has attempted similar project in the past, as well as they learn in detail about the business domain. The team assess the resources as well as they check the available supports for the project in terms of people, technology, time and data. The other important activities in this phase include framing the business problem as an analytic challenge that can be addressed in subsequent phases, and formulating initial hypothesis to test and begin the learning the data. Next, we will see the second phase of a life cycle, that is the data preparation. Where exactly it is located? It is located at the second position. So in data preparation, again you can observe here that the process is iterative in nature. If team members are not satisfied with the earlier phase, then they go back to the previous phase to get new insight from the data. Team members frame the question, do I have enough information to draft the analytic plan, and share the peer review. In data preparation, the team members use an analytic sandbox in which the team can work with the data and perform analytics for the duration of the project. The team needs to execute the ELT. ELT stand for extract, load and transform, or they can use the tool like ETL, that is extract, transform and load, to get data into the sandboxes. The ETL and the ELT are sometimes abbreviated as ETLT. This is the most popular term in data science. In this phase, the team gets familiarized with the data throughoutly and process for the data conditioning. Next, we will see the model planning. In model planning, which is the third phase of a data life cycle. While planning a model, the team members have thought as I have a good idea about the type of the model. Will we try? Can I refine the analytic plan? So that's question may be raised by the team member. Let's see in detail about the model planning. In model planning, the activities that were carried out, where the team member determine the methods, techniques, workflow that can be follow the subsequent model building phase. The team explore the data to learn about the relationship between the variables and the subsequent key variable. They also decide the most suitable model. Now, this is the thing associated with the model planning. Now, next we will see what exactly the model building. In model building, this is the fourth phase of a life cycle, which is called as a model building. Let's see about this phase in detail. So, model building, in which the team members develop data sets for testing as well as for the training and production purposes. In addition, in this phase, the team builds and execute models based on the work done in the model planning phase. The team also consider whether its existing tool will satisfy for the models, or it will need more robust environment for the execution. So they are dealing with certain hardware or the parallel processing if applicable. Now next we will see the fifth phase, that will be the communication, or you can call it as a communicate result phase. So that will be a fifth phase which is located over here. And in detail about this fifth phase, first we must know the phase 4 was reviewed here, and checking the robustness of model. Then the team members in this team members they cooperate. They create a cooperation with major stakeholder. Means they communicate with the major stakeholder, determine if the result of the project are success or failure. Based on the criteria developed in phase 1, they analyze the success or the failure. The team identifies the key finding, specifies the business value, and develop content to summarize and convey finding to the stakeholder. So this is the thing associated with the communication. Now let's see the next phase, that will be the final phase. But before that, I appeal you to appear for the focus question. So the focus question is that in the data preparation phase, what ELT stand for? Option 1, electronic label transaction. Option 2, execution of a label target. Option 3, electronic local transaction. And option 4, extract, load and transform. Your time start now. Hope you choose the correct option. You have to submit this question to our Google Classroom. Now let's discuss about the sixth phase, that will be a final phase of the data analytic life cycle, that is called the operationalize. This operationalize is the final phase in which the team members deliver the final report as well as briefings and codes that were developed, as well as technical document. All these delivery is being carried out in this operationalized phase. In addition, the team may run the pilot project to implement the model in a production environment. Hope you understand the concept of life cycle. We just summarize what we had learned today. In this second lecture of the data analytics, we have discussed the big data ecosystem and typical architecture. We have also described the 6 phases of a data analytics life cycle, that is data discovery, data preparation, planning of a data, and model, that is called data model. Then communication of results and operationalization. So these are the things we had learned today. In the next session, we will discuss the case study, that is Global Innovation Network Analysis, popularly known as GINA. This GINA is a case study recommended by SPPU. The fundamentals associated with the GINA case study are available in a book of data science and big data. The book already in a last session I suggest you, which is available at our central library. So you just go through it and try to inculcate the fundamentals associated with the GINA case study. Thank you. You can post your queries at our Google Classroom forum. Thank you once again, and these are the our classroom logo. You can post your queries at the Google forum. Have a nice day. Thank you.